It all starts from a simple interaction that initially looks normal. In a recent broadcast or public appearance, Jungkook looks a little different. Not in a drastic sense, but enough to make fans who know him in great detail feel that something is unlike usual. His gaze was a little deeper, his smile was slightly held back, and the pause in his speech felt longer. Small things that may escape the attention of ordinary people are actually material for intense analysis for ARMY around the world. It didn't take long for the pieces of the moment to start spreading on various social media platforms. Videos that last a few seconds are played repeatedly, enlarged, slowed down, even compared to old recordings. The fans are trying to find patterns, looking for the meaning behind every movement. Some even associate it with Jungkook's past statements, trying to compose a bigger narrative from those small fragments. What makes this situation even more interesting is how some fans feel that this is not a coincidence. They believe that Jungkook, as a figure who is known to be quite closed in certain things, may have deliberately inserted subtle messages. Not to create a sensation, but as a more personal form of communication with those who really pay attention. In the world of entertainment that is full of limitations and pressure, this method is considered a safe way to express something deeper. However, not everyone agrees with the theory. Some others think that this is just a form of overanalysis that often occurs in large fandoms. They argue that small changes in a person's expression or attitude can be caused by fatigue, a busy schedule, or a momentary emotional condition that has no hidden meaning. This debate also shows how strong the emotional attachment between Jungkook and his fans is. On the other hand, there is also a bolder theory. Some fans suspect that this hidden message is related to a big project that Jungkook is preparing. In the K-pop industry, an indirect teaser strategy is not a new thing. However, the way Jungkook did it this time was considered different, more personal, and more emotional. If that's true, then this can be one of the most unique ways to build public anticipation. Interestingly, there are also those who associate this finding with Jungkook's mental and emotional condition as a global artist. As the youngest member of BTS who has had a career since a very young age, Jungkook is known as a figure who works hard and bears great responsibilities. On several occasions, he once expressed the pressure he felt, even though he was always wrapped in a smile and professionalism. Because of that, some fans see this hidden message as a possible form of expressing feelings that they cannot openly convey. In the midst of all the speculation, one thing that cannot be denied is how strong the relationship between Jungkook and ARMY is. This relationship is not just between artists and fans, but more like an emotional bond that affects each other. Every small change in Jungkook can be felt by his fans, and every response from fans also has its own impact on Jungkook. This phenomenon also reflects how the digital era has changed the way we consume and understand public figures. In the past, maybe only an official interview or a big appearance was in the spotlight. But now, every second can be important. Every movement can be a message. And every message, no matter how small, can trigger a wave of global discussion. But behind all that, a deeper question arises. Do we really understand what Jungkook wants to convey? Or do we just see what we want to see? In an effort to find meaning, sometimes the boundary between reality and interpretation becomes blurred. And that is where the complexity of the relationship between artists and fans in the modern era lies. Until now, there has been no official confirmation from Jungkook or his agency regarding this speculation. No explanation, no clarification. This silence actually strengthens the mystery. For some people, this is proof that there is indeed something hidden. But for others, this is just part of the dynamics that always accompany great popularity. What is clear, whatever the truth behind all this, Jungkook once again managed to attract the attention of the world in an unusual way. Without the need for a big statement or dramatic action, he is able to create a wave of discussion only from small details that are almost invisible. And maybe that's where his true strength lies. Is this really a hidden message? Or is it just a reflection of the extraordinary attention given by the fans? The answer may never be really clear. But one thing is for sure. This story shows that behind the glitter of the entertainment world, there is always a layer of emotion, mystery, and human relationships that is much deeper than it looks on the surface. The narrative about the alleged hidden message from Jungkook actually developed in a deeper and more emotional direction when the fans began to relate various old moments that were previously considered not too important. A video clip from a few years ago was brought up again, associated with the latest gestures, as if forming a timeline that has been out of the attention of many people. In those recordings, Jungkook is seen several times showing a similar expression: a blank stare for a moment in the middle of a smile, or a long pause before answering a simple question. In the past, those moments may be considered as part of ordinary fatigue, but now everything feels like it has a new meaning. Some army even began to formulate a more complex theory, saying that Jungkook may have been talking for a long time. It's just that not everyone is sensitive enough to realize it. They point to his habit of choosing words that sound simple but often feel ambiguous, as if they have a deeper layer of meaning. In one of his live broadcasts, for example, Jungkook once said that he wants to do something really honest one day. That sentence, which at that time sounded like an ordinary reflection, is now being talked about again with a different point of view. Not stopping there, the analysis also penetrates into more detailed things, such as the choice of the song he sings, the way he changes certain lyrics, to facial expressions when singing certain parts. Some fans believe that music is always the most honest way for an artist to convey his heart, and if Jungkook is indeed hiding something, then the clue is most likely there. Every note, every lyric, even every breath between the verses of the song is now treated like a puzzle piece that must be arranged. But in the midst of a wave of theories that are getting wilder, there are also voices that try to remind so that all this does not go beyond the limit. They emphasize that Jungkook is also an ordinary human who has the right to have a personal space, and not everything should be interpreted as a hidden message. There is a concern that the pressure from excessive expectations and interpretations can actually be an additional burden for him. Even so, it is difficult to stop the curiosity that has already spread, especially when some of the latest moments trigger new speculation. In a fairly short appearance, Jungkook was seen staring at the camera longer than usual, as if he wanted to say something without words. That look, which for some people may mean nothing, instead became the subject of a long discussion among fans. Some say that it is a code. Some feel that it is a form of emotional communication that can only be understood by those who really pay attention. This phenomenon indirectly shows how Jungkook has built such a strong relationship with his fans. A relationship that goes beyond verbal language, which allows communication to occur even in silence. In a world full of noise and distractions, things that are not said often have the biggest impact. On the other hand, there is also a more reflective point of view that is starting to appear. Some fans admit that maybe what they see is not entirely about Jungkook, but also about themselves. That in an effort to understand their idol, they are also looking for meaning, looking for connection, and maybe even looking for comfort. Jungkook, in this case, becomes a mirror of the emotions they feel.